There we go. Love you, automated voice. Okay, Claire Stones here from Patch PCN Magazine. Here with Royce of Tragedy. And here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to start with the really important question of, can you please describe Tragedy to anybody who's never heard of them or is new to the phenomenon that is Tragedy?
Okay, here's how I would describe it. So, you know, Fabio, right? From the romance novels.
Yeah.
Picture like 5 guys who look like that, and then a towel boy who looks like the opposite of that, and then imagine the Bee Gees and other soft rock tunes that you love or that you hate, even transformed into the most beautiful, glistening, glittery heavy metal that you've ever heard. And then imagine that you're having a really good time, almost like you took drugs, but you didn't. It's just the experience of being around Tragedy.
That's about right. I like. How did Tragedy come about?
Well, it all started as kind of a joke, or some may say a terrible idea. We just had the idea one day to, it was completely contrived. What if we did heavy metal versions of the Bee Gees? We were contacted by a promoter here in New York City who had a weekend of shows at Irving Plaza, kind of a big venue here. And he was looking for a support act that would be fun and funny and stuff like that. And he called us up. We were working on another project, taking a lunch break from a recording session. And yeah, we got the call and we were like, oh yeah, we can come up with something. And we sat there for it was probably less than a minute, kind of threw some ideas back and forth. Then we landed on the Bee Gees and looked at each other like, oh my God, that's it. That's perfect. So that's how it started. And we thought it would be just for a couple shows, kind of a laugh. And then we started working on the demos and putting the band together. And not long after that, playing in front of audiences. And it was clear pretty much immediately that it wasn't just a dumb idea, that the music was really cool. It was really satisfying to play, and something really enjoyable for audiences too.
What happened to Robin and Barry, which I'm sure is what everybody wants to know?
Are you talking about Robin and Barry from the Bee Gees or from Tragedy?
I think most people know what happened to the Bee Gees. I think Barry's still with us, just about.
Barry is still with us. Yeah, Barry has a new album out, a fairly new album this year. Came out with duets, and it's really good.
More Barbra Streisand, I'm hoping.
I don't think Barbra Streisand is on that album. No. But anyway, with Barry Glibb and Robin Gibbons of Tragedy, those are the guys I started the band with. Barry Glibb now has a band called Witch Taint. They're a comedy black metal band, and they're absolute genius. You got to check them out. They have videos and an album out. And Robin Gibbons, he's a concert promoter. Of course, it's been, if the pandemic was harder than anyone, harder on musicians than anyone, it might be concert promoters. So he's been spending the pandemic in Idaho. Left New York City for an altogether different place. Yeah.
Of all the questions you've been asked of late, what is the one that annoys you most? Or are you just most sick of being asked?
I don't know. I get a lot of the same questions, and especially with this round, it's a lot of journalists who just found out about the band. So everyone needs the origin story. Yeah. It's not annoying though, because it's kind of an interesting story to tell.
Yep, I will admit I have stolen a couple of questions from the video you did on Friday, primarily because they were really cool, and I thought more people needed to hear the answers.
Oh, okay, nice.
Also, reuse good questions.
Yeah, I may be reusing some answers too. We'll see.
I have a weird question for one of my friends. One of my the friend who introduced me to Tragedy must be like 6 or 7 years ago now. A long time. Said he has a copy of the debut album signed by Robin Gibbons. He wants to know, do you think it's worth anything?
Oh, it's definitely worth something. I mean, when we first started, actually, we put our first demos up on MySpace, and you could sell your music on MySpace at that point. We put them up for $100 each. So that album has 10 songs on it, so I can't do math very well, but I think it's probably worth millions of dollars now.
I'll tell him not to do anything, or to at least make sure that he puts some nice reserve on it if he is gonna sell it.
Oh yeah, and you get it insured at the very least.
Can you describe the current Tragedy lineup for the uninitiated?
Sure. So we have Lance the Towel Boy, who's a complete idiot, and he likes to take.
It always seems to smell a little off whenever I see him play.
Oh yes, you're being polite. Yeah, so he's the non-musician of the band. Though he managed to sneak a couple terrible recordings onto our albums lately. But then we have the real talent in the band. We have on drums the Lord Gibbeth, who's kind of a very Old Testament god. He's a very, very powerful. Likes to throw his power around, you know. We got Andy Gibbous Waning on bass, and I should say on lead bass and lead vocals and lead backing vocals. He is a tall, muscular, handsome man with the voice of a tall, muscular, handsome angel. And then we got my little baby brother, Gary Bibb, the newest member of Tragedy. He is much younger than us. He first saw Tragedy when he was maybe 13 or 14 years old, and he likes to recall when he saw us, he booed us and threw things at us. But then the way he tells it is that his sexuality took over, and then he discovered the beauty and the genius of Tragedy, and now he's one of us. Then we have Disco Mountain Man, my adopted brother. He joined the band full time, I think on her third album, but he does sing Shadow Dancing on the first album too. And then yours truly, Royce Peterson, lead guitar, lead vocals, and yeah, that's me.
Where did you find Lance, and are you regretting not leaving him there?
Oh, we leave him every chance we have. When we're on tour, we leave him wherever we stop at services, or leave the hotel without him, whatever it might be, and somehow he just reappears magically. So he does have a talent, I guess, a talent for annoying us. But the story there is that he was. We needed a towel boy. We knew this pretty much from after we played our first gig. actually maybe even before our first gig. I can't remember if we had a lance on our first gig or not, but very early on, we realized that when we play, we would get very moist. And I don't want to say that we're divas, but, it's kind of above us to towel off ourselves. So we enlisted an intern to towel us off and pour beverages into our mouths because, we can't be bothered with that. But we need to be refreshed. So that's how Lance started, and yeah, he's still with us, unfortunately.
What is your best tragedy moment, be it a gig or something just related to tragedy?
Well, we had a crazy experience. We were playing festivals in Europe. This was a couple years ago. We were playing at Summer Breeze in Germany, and at that time we were playing every night at the festival. I forget, I think it was 5 nights we played. And after the last night, we had to get to France for a show the next day, for a festival the next day. And it was tricky because we're in like rural Bavaria for summer breeze. So we left the stage, we jumped into a van. This is like the middle of the night now because we played, I think our set time was around midnight or something. So drive through the night through these tiny highways. This guy is driving like a maniac to get us to Strasbourg in France. Drops us off. We go into the train station. We have to get a high-speed train to go all the way across the country in France, all the way to the West Coast for the Motoculture Festival. And we got on the wrong train, but thankfully the conductor spotted. I don't know how it happened. We got really lucky because it was kind of like we were just going to sit down, and we're told, no, not the right train. So then we had to run and go get the next train, which was waiting there, waiting to leave. Get on that train, go all the way across the country, get picked up by another van, get taken to the festival, get some really nice food and wine because it's a French festival. And we go to set up our stage. It was Uli John Roth was playing on our stage before us. 10,000 people there watching the show. And we hadn't really played France. I think we played France once or twice before. Never a big festival there or anything. So we didn't really know how it was going to go. But we see, okay, great crowd for Uli John Roth. He finishes. We go to set up. All but 4 people just left to go to another stage. So we're setting up, and there's I guess 4 of our biggest fans in France. They're in the front row at the barricades watching us set up. And we're like, wow, okay. But by the time we finished setting up and we're ready to play, the band who was playing on the stage next door had finished, and we walk out, and it's 10,000 people again. And which is great, but then still, they don't, a lot of them, probably most of them don't even know Tragedy. So we start playing, and it was great vibe right away. And, something I love about these metal festivals is that sometimes you see the people trying to look real hard, they're in their battle jackets, they got their arms crossed, and they're, acting like they're not into it. And a few songs in, you start to move, and then halfway through, you see a mosh pit, and then by the end, we have everybody doing the YMCA dance.
It's so good. You want to see a lot of metalheads doing the YMCA.
It's a beautiful thing, Everyone lets their inhibitions go.
What song has been the most fun to give the Tragedy treatment?
Oh, man. I mean, there are so many that are really fun to do, and some of them are, for me, I really, really adore the recordings, and maybe don't necessarily love playing it live, and then some things the other way around. The thing for me in a show that just always resonates for me while we're doing it is "How Deep Is Your Love." Um, I think it's kind of where it is in the show. You know, everybody has really, the inhibitions are gone, um, and and people start to sing along, and it's just it's really the moment when I kind of feel like at one with the audience.
Is there any song that you've tried to give the tragedy treatment and it just hasn't worked, and you just want to go back and sort it out, and just you haven't given up on yet?
I mean, there's plenty of those. It's really a lot like songwriting. You know, before this band, I'd never been in a cover band or anything like that. Um, I was a songwriter, and and um, and it's so similar to songwriting experience where you start something, you have an idea, and you work on it a bit, and probably most of the time that song, whether it's a song I was writing back in the day or it's a song we're working on for Tragedy, most of the time it doesn't go all the way to being on a record or in a show. So there are many, many songs like that. And then there are many songs like that we may give up on for a while, and then we revisit it. An example of that ended up being really good is Sweet Caroline. Um, we were playing that song in rehearsal, and it was like, it's kind of cool, but it's not that. It just it's not gritty enough. It's not tough enough. And then we had the idea of putting the verses into a minor key, and it would gradually kind of come out of that minor key during the pre-chorus, um, and then go to the chorus, be in the major key, go back to minor for the verse, and that totally saved that song, and it made it like one of our most popular songs, I think.
So which video was the most fun to film? I know they all look like they're either a lot of work or they're a complete riot. Nowhere in between.
Well, it's both. Yeah, videos are like, we generally shoot them in one day. So it can be intense, like depending on the number of shots and setups and locations and stuff like that. Um, it's always a very intense day of shooting, but there's always so much great kind of creative energy happening. Something we do, we with our videos, we tend to, we have so many like creative friends in New York City, from like burlesque dancers to magicians to all kinds of people, actors, dancers, just all kinds of stuff, and then people in film too. But there's always just so much creativity that gets poured into it, like every step of the way. When we're talking about ideas for the video, while we're shooting the video, the director of photography gets creative, and then the people we have playing roles and everything, they all get creative with their look and their characters, and it always ends up being, it's intense, but it's always super fun.
That's cool. If anybody is thinking of breaking their tragedy virginity, what advice would you give them?
Breaking what?
Their tragedy virginity and sort of coming to see you play live.
My advice is do it. I mean, if you want to complete yourself as a human being, that's what you have to do. And it will change your life, but it's not going to be like, there can be bad things that change your life, like if you're young and you lose your parent or something like that. Well, this is going to be This is going to change your life as much as that, but it's going to feel good the whole time.
Why should people buy the latest album?
This is kind of a greatest hits album, and it's really fantastic collection. A lot of everything was at least remastered. I think, no, maybe everything was remixed to some degree too. And then there are some brand new versions of songs we've done. It's really a lovely. We haven't done a greatest hits like this before, so it's 14 songs. It's just great, really fun to listen to, start to finish, and it's some great artwork to look at while you're doing it too.
What was your reaction when the DGs really said that they were going to release an album for Record Store Day?
Well, I thought it was pretty funny. It first came to my attention. I mean, when anything Bee Gees related happens in the world, I get inundated with messages. Have you seen this yet? Have you seen this yet? So it was a few months ago, before they announced their album. They released that video for "You Should Be Dancing," and I thought it was pretty funny. I love that. I love when people come to love the Bee Gees again, or learn how to love them again, or love them for the first time. There's a lot of pushback from our fans, of course, saying, Foo Fighters, what are you doing? Tragedy has been doing, rock and metal versions of the Bee Gees for years, stay in your lane. But to me, I mean, that's kind of a silly thing. No, we're the only ones who can do the Bee Gees songs. They wrote those songs for us to do, not for you to do. No negative feelings, and Dave Grohl is such a lovely, positive guy, and that's the approach they brought to their music. They didn't really do it, with Tragedy. We really try to reinvent the songs, and with the DGs, they stayed very, very faithful to the sound of the originals.
And now for the really bizarre questions. You've done many a trip to the UK. What is your favourite weird UK only food that you've come across?
UK only food. I have some not favorites, which strangely are favorites of others in the band, like blood pudding. Not having it. This is not a UK only food by any means, but fish and chips in the UK is really, really well done. Pretty much every time I have it. Maybe not at Wetherspoons, but
yeah,
everywhere else. Yeah.
Grimsby's the best place, or anywhere on the coast is normally where they're bringing the fish in fresh. It's normally your best place to go. See it named.
Yes.
Sort of play Grimsby, or
there is someplace right, but Scarborough.
Yeah,
just Scarborough had amazing fish and chips in Scarborough.
Yeah,
and so many seagulls there. Oh my God, that was crazy. It felt like it was in a Hitchcock movie.
How many cats are there in Tragedy? I know you started to share the photos, but you seem to have stopped for a while.
Yes, there are more cats. We shared a photo of each member's cat, but there are, I think there are 5 more to come, 4 more to come. I can't keep track of all the cats, but there's some. She usually sits on me when I'm at the computer. The one at Nancy Sinatra is here, but she's being shy right now. But I think she'll make an appearance on social media pretty soon.
It's good to hear. Is there any venue that in the UK that you love playing or that you really want to play that you haven't had a chance?
Well, the main stage at Glass and Budget, we got to play there once, and then we got scheduled to headline the Friday night there, and then that got postponed once and twice and 3 times and 4 times. So hopefully we make it back. That's a really great stage. We when we did our live album and live concert release from 2020, we filmed it at the Robin in Bilston, which is in the Black Country, at like Wolverhampton area. That's always been a really, really cool venue for us to play. And they have hotel rooms for us attached to the venue, which is like, that's a touring band's dream.
It's brilliant. I think I've gone through all of the questions that I had. Thank you for joining me.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
If people, just as an aside, if somebody wanted to buy 2 albums and they've decided to buy the greatest hits, which of the back catalogue should they add to their basket?
Oh man, that's tough to say. Like our most popular album is Death to False Disco Metal, but then like there are like 3 or 4 songs from that album on the new one, so you'd want something that would complement that. You know what? I would say Tragedy Goes to the Movies. But you can check them all out on Spotify, and then you go and you should just buy them all. That's
and then of course hit the website and buy some t-shirts to go with it.
Yeah, do all that.
Thank you once again for joining us, and all the best with the album. I hear it's at #1 in the UK at the moment.
It's #1 in the UK. It's an amazing day.
Thanks again.
All right, cheers.
Thank you.